My bestie hired a guy to be my fake boyfriend for a day. After the job was done, I couldn't get him out of my head. I couldn't help myself. I threw some money around and paid him to stick around. I spent my days completely smitten. Until one day, my bestie came over. She froze, rubbed her eyes, and then screamed her head off. "Babe! Why are you on top of my uncle?" I yanked my head out from where it was buried in his chest. Who? The day of the blind date. My date was finding fault with everything about me. That face of yours. It's all natural, right? My face is all natural, but your personality is totally fake. I put on a polite smile. Need to see my 4D ultrasound scans to prove it? The poser replied, "Yeah, that'd be even better." I was seeing red. Just then, my bestie, Chloe, sent me a text. "Reinforcements are on the way. He's so hot you're gonna be speechless." A second later, the bell on the door chimed. I looked up. The first thing through the door was a pair of legs that went on for days. My eyes traveled up his tailored trousers to a narrow waist and shoulders as wide as the Pacific. And then, higher still. Whoa. What a ridiculously handsome face. What else was there to say? "Chloe, you're my hero." I shot up from my seat. "Sorry, my boyfriend's here to pick me up." My date's eyes went wide. I rushed over to the guy and lowered my voice. "Chloe sent you, right?" He seemed to pause for a few seconds. But he didn't deny it. Silence is consent. So I looped my arm through his intimately. "What took you so long?" "I've been waiting forever." His firm muscles were practically screaming through the thin fabric. He was in great shape. My hand traitorously started to wander up his arm. I swear, I was just acting. I definitely wasn't trying to take advantage of him. The man gave me a leisurely, amused look. I cleared my throat to hide my embarrassment. "Let's go inside." I led him inside by the arm. After a couple of steps, I realized he hadn't moved. I turned and tilted my head. "Why aren't you coming?" He gave me a deep look. "Go in for what?" I gave his arm a little tug and whispered, "Didn't Chloe tell you? You're my temporary boyfriend for today." I lifted my chin. "That's my blind date. Your mission is to utterly destroy him." He raised an eyebrow and just said, "Oh." Seeing how quickly he caught on, I patted his hand. "Just follow my lead." I pulled him over, beaming. "Let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend." What was his name again? I shot him a look. He caught my glance and tilted his head with a small smile. He pulled me closer by the shoulder. "Hi, I'm Mia's boyfriend, Ethan Chen." Chen. A good name. I seem to have a thing for people named Chen. The date looked at Ethan, then at himself. Completely crushed, he turned and stormed off, his flab jiggling with every angry step. Yes. So satisfying. I got Ethan's number and sent him a 1,000 tip. Looking at that face, I couldn't resist. I playfully tilted his chin up. "Nice work." He suddenly caught my hand. "I can do even better." In the middle of the night, my bestie, Chloe, called me. "So? Was he amazing or what? Did your date just shrivel up from shame?" At that moment, my foot was tracing its way down the man's abs. Hearing her, I pressed down a little harder. He arched his neck and let out a muffled groan. A satisfied smile spread across my face. "He's not bad." Just then, he suddenly grabbed my foot. He arched his hips and flipped over. I let out an involuntary gasp and accidentally hit the speakerphone button. Chloe's suggestive laughter filled the room. "Ooh la la, sounds like he's got stamina. I've got others if you." The man clicked his tongue. He snatched the phone. And turned it off. "She's loud." "Hey." My inner bestie defender protested. She's not loud. She paid for you, you took the money. You should be nicer to your client. Before I could finish, he bent down and silenced me with a kiss. You're a little loud too. And this isn't what mouths are for right now. With that, he bent down again. This time, it wasn't a simple kiss. From my lips to my earlobe. Then tracing a line across my collarbone. He effortlessly pulled me into a tide of passion. The lower he went, the more I trembled. Just as I was about to reach my limit, he stopped and moved back up. He pinned my hands with one of his. His lips were moist, curved into an unreadable smile. Just as my mind was turning to mush, he turned me over. The movement was swift, his ragged breath hitting the back of my neck. I cried out. He suddenly chuckled behind me. Forgot to tell you. You're the amazing one. I slept until noon. Ethan was already gone. But he'd left a message. Had to work this morning. There's a new outfit for you on the nightstand. Text me when you're up. My eyes fell on the bag on the nightstand. I picked up my phone and sent him another 1,000. A few seconds later, he replied. Me, for last night's services. Just then, my phone rang. The second I answered, Chloe's voice came through, a mix of excitement and complaint. I think my uncle is sick in the head. I played along. How so? I ran into him this morning, and he actually smiled at me. I was so scared I almost dropped to my knees. I sat up, propping myself up on my arm. Is your uncle really that scary? Let's just say he's scary when he's not smiling, and even scarier when he is. And with his ridiculously good looks, everyone thinks he's easy to talk to, but he's actually the most manipulative guy I know. Ridiculously good looks. My mind flashed back to the face that had been so close to mine yesterday. I muttered, the guy from yesterday was already a total heartthrob. I was completely mesmerized. I'd successfully distracted Chloe. Oh, he's nothing. I was going to tell you yesterday, I know guys who are on a whole other level. I knew exactly what she meant. So, tonight? She picked up the thread. Then, in unison, let's go. I'll pick you up. It's a perfect chance to test drive my uncle's new car. Sitting in the car, I was still in a daze. To be honest, I'd never been in a car this expensive. Plus, I was always hearing Chloe complain about her uncle. Brutal, cold, and prone to violence. I hesitantly fastened my seatbelt. Are we sure it's okay to just take your uncle's car like this? What I really wanted to ask was, is he going to kill us? Relax. He has so many cars in his garage, he'll never notice. She glanced at me. Hold on tight. Then she floored it. The G-force threw all my worries to the back of my mind. Half an hour later. Chloe parked the car in front of a club. It was a members-only establishment, extremely private, with impeccable service. Chloe even had her own dedicated concierge. She expertly handed over her card. Bring us 10 of your best. I absolutely loved her money is no object attitude. But that love quickly faded. I stared at the other level guys she was talking about. I had to fight to keep my expression neutral. I leaned over and whispered in her ear, these guys are nothing compared to yesterday's. Chloe's eyes widened. She held my face, examining it from every angle. Mia, has your prescription gotten worse? I told you to get LASIK, but you never listen. You can question my eyesight, but you can't question my taste. I opened my mouth to argue, but a grape was popped into it. One of the young hosts had sat down next to me at some point, holding a fruit platter. Well, you get what you pay for. He was certainly attentive. I chewed my grape. Chomp, chomp. As I was about to speak again, another grape appeared. I gave the host a look of mild annoyance. He completely misinterpreted it, thinking I was flirting, and shot back a sultry look. Whatever. If you can't beat M, join M. Ethan was in the middle of a meeting when his phone screen lit up. He gave it a casual glance. It was a transaction alert from Chloe's account. He didn't think much of it. The person presenting wisely paused. Ethan tapped the table, signaling for him to continue. A second later, the phone lit up again. It was a text from his friend, Leo. "Is Chloe at Verve?" He replied. Leo forwarded a video. This background. Isn't that Verve? Ethan's eyes narrowed as he watched the video of Mia and the man sitting beside her. He typed, "Where did you see this?" Leo, on Chloe's social feed, duh. Ethan opened Chloe's profile, only to be met with a cold, hard line indicating he'd been blocked. He let out a humorless laugh. The presenter looked at him, terrified, and frantically flipped through his report. Unable to find any errors, he looked hesitantly at the man in charge. "Mr. Chen, is there a problem with the data?" The report in his hands now felt like a hot potato. Ethan stood up. "That's all for today's meeting." With that, he grabbed his jacket and walked out. His assistant called after him, "Mr. Chen, where are you going?" Without turning back, Ethan said, "To go get someone." I was lounging on the sofa, enjoying the attention from the host. Chloe was tearing it up on the dance floor. Suddenly, a hand clamped down on the back of her neck. Chloe spun around and looked like she'd seen a ghost. "What are you doing here?" Leo lifted his chin slightly and sneered, "Do you own the place?" That wasn't Chloe's main concern. She pressed, "I mean, if you're here, then where's my uncle?" "He's parking the car." That was clearly not the answer she wanted. Chloe instantly teleported to my side. "Babe. Quick, cover for me," she whispered urgently. I started getting inexplicably nervous myself, my body tensing up. Chloe sensed it and asked from behind me, "Why are you so scared too?" What a question. Who wouldn't be scared of a guy who's known to be violent? Before I could answer, she changed her tune. "I gotta run. Babe, you'll have to find your own way home." And with that, she bolted without a second glance. As if she'd made some kind of life or death decision. Leo chuckled at her retreating back, then took off after her. He casually draped an arm over her shoulder. Chloe impatiently shrugged it off. He relentlessly put it back. "Is this normal?" A few minutes later, Chloe sent me a text. "I forgot the car keys. Going back in now would be suicide. Can you drive the car back for me?" Praying hands emoji. As if reading my mind, she immediately sent another message. "Don't worry, my uncle doesn't know you." Right. The one person who could expose me is gone. What the hell am I afraid of? After Chloe left, I found out that the hosts at this club charge by the minute. I checked the time and promptly sent them all away. Dealing with a crowd is exhausting. All that fake smiling was making my face hurt. I picked up my drink and turned around. Huh. Ethan. What's he doing here? Looks like he's really hard up for cash, working gigs all over the place. Though he looks pretty pissed off. I swirled the drink in my glass, starting to size him up from head to toe. Putting his expression aside, he was in phenomenal shape. Broad shoulders, narrow waist. He likes to keep it on the right. I'd guess he's about 6 feet 2 inches. But a man being too handsome is also a problem. In the blink of an eye, several groups of people had already approached him. Even worse, an old man in a suit was grinning at him, his face a mess of wrinkles. It's one thing to be a heartbreaker for women and men, but even old guys are falling for him. Ugh. Annoying. Staring at Ethan, I tilted my head back and downed my drink. I went over, dragged him into an empty room. I pushed him against the wall, slamming one hand next to his ear. I was looking up, he was looking down. My power move was somehow being overpowered. I stood on my toes, barely managing to meet his gaze. "Are you that desperate for money? Be with me. I'll make sure you're taken care of." How does 10,000 a month sound? A few seconds passed, and he still hadn't said anything. I started to worry. Did that old guy offer him more? I can go higher. Deal, he interrupted. Huh? A playful look flashed in his eyes as he leaned in, our noses almost touching. I instinctively leaned back. Losing my balance, I started to fall backward. The next second, a large hand wrapped around my waist, pulling me tightly against him. Just then, my phone rang. It was my mom. I didn't want to answer and declined the call. She immediately sent me a text on WhatsApp. If I don't see you in half an hour, you can come back and plan my funeral. Attached was a picture of a bottle of sleeping pills. Here we go again. Whatever. Wrong time, wrong place. I gently pushed Ethan away. Since we have a deal, you can quit this job. I caressed his face. You attract too much attention. It's safest to keep you locked up at home. He played along, leaning down to brush his lips against mine. Whatever you say. On the outside, I was calm. On the inside, my heart was like a glass of soda, fizzing and popping. I cleared my throat to hide my excitement. Let's go. I'll take you home. Perfect. I still had to return Chloe's uncle's car. Ethan stopped a few feet away. He tilted his head and raised an eyebrow. This car? My eyes darted around. From his expression, he must have recognized it. In that case, I think I'll play a little trick. I rested my hand on the car, leaning casually against the door. It's mine. Now you see what I'm capable of. I won't let you down. Now he'll surely be impressed by my wealth. A little white lie never hurt anyone. Ethan's expression was a little hard to read. Does he not believe me? I took out the key fob and pressed the button with confidence. Wait, I don't think I know how to open the door. How did Chloe open it? I bent over, studying the handle for a good while. Ethan walked over and pressed something I couldn't see. The door slowly swung open in front of me. I turned back, my eyes full of questions. He looked completely unfazed. I've been in it before. Me? A sense of crisis washed over me. I immediately got serious. When? He thought for a few seconds. A few days ago. This car is a limited edition. That person's financial power might be greater than mine. Without batting an eye, I said. She was probably just renting it. A faint smile touched his lips as if he'd thought of something. That's what I figured. He stepped closer. From what I know, this is a global limited edition. He wrapped an arm around my waist, his soft breath tickling my ear. You bought yours, right? Of course. To stop him from asking more questions, I stood on my toes and cupped his face. From now on, don't get in other people's cars. Their intentions are never pure. He pulled my hands down. And are your intentions pure? I nodded. Yes. My intentions are pure lust. Maybe I was too honest. He froze for a few seconds, then turned his head and broke into a smile. Looking at his face, I zoned out for a moment. If I have to get married eventually, why not choose a face that's pleasant to look at? Once we were in the car, I got ready to pull up the GPS. Where do you live? He typed in an address. You can just drop me off here. I stared at the address, lost in thought. Then, in disbelief, I said, you live here? It was an ultra-exclusive neighborhood where apartments sold for hundreds of thousands per square foot. Then another, more terrifying possibility occurred to me. My composure started to crack as I looked at him. You're being kept by another rich woman? He flicked my forehead with his finger. I work security there. That was a close call. Phew. An apartment that costs a fortune per square foot deserves a security guard this handsome. As soon as we drove into the complex, The concierge seemed to recognize the car and was incredibly respectful. He let us right through without even asking for registration. I was still confused. Just then, Chloe sent me a text. "My angel, please help me out one last time. This is my uncle's house." Begging emoji. She attached a location pin. It was this exact complex. Everything suddenly made sense. Her uncle lived here. Ethan propped his head up with one hand. "You live in this neighborhood?" Your car was automatically recognized." He deliberately emphasized the first few words. But I'm dense, so I didn't catch the teasing in his voice. Fortunately, he didn't press the issue. The car had been parked for a while. Ethan showed no signs of getting out. "Are you?" As I turned my head, he reached out and pressed the back of my head. A cool kiss landed on my lips. My brain short-circuited for a moment. It wasn't until I heard the car door close that I snapped out of it. I waited for a minute, until I couldn't see Ethan anymore, before sneaking toward the main gate. I'd only taken a few steps when someone called out from behind me. "Miss Wan, please wait." I stopped and turned around. He took 2 steps forward and bowed slightly. "Miss Wan, our boss instructed me to drive you home." "You're Chloe's family driver?" The driver paused for a second. "Yes. Miss Chloe asked me to see you home." On the way home, my mom continued to bombard me with messages. I rolled down the window, letting the wind blow in as my thoughts scattered. My dad is a typical businessman, extremely goal-oriented. He married my mom for the connections her family had. And things turned out just as he expected. My mom, a hopeless romantic, poured all her resources into helping him climb the ladder. The higher he climbed, the more his true nature was revealed. He started staying out all night. At first, my mom didn't suspect anything. But then she heard rumors and started following my dad, discovering he was keeping a mistress. Worse, his illegitimate daughter was only a few months younger than me. My mom cried and fought, but my dad couldn't have cared less. When he got annoyed, he'd just say, "Let's get a divorce." He wasn't afraid of splitting assets. Long ago, he'd started transferring his wealth. The only marital property they shared was the house we lived in now. The company's profits had nothing to do with my mom. I used to fantasize about my mom divorcing him, about the two of us getting away from that scumbag. But I was naive. She'd rather stay in that empty house than divorce my dad. Then, a couple of years ago, my dad's company faced a major financial crisis. He started coming home again. And he would casually mention the idea of a strategic marriage alliance. And so, my mom started putting pressure on me. The Chin family's son is so handsome and talented, and their business is mainly overseas. Your father wants to expand abroad, you should go meet him. Yeah, I heard his daughter is about to graduate from college. The head of the Lee family is a billionaire. If he invests in your dad's company, it'll be saved. Right, I heard he's older than my grandpa. If I refused, she'd threaten to kill herself. Finally, I went to meet the one who was my age. He was so large he needed a chair for each butt cheek. I was out of options. So I hired Ethan to scare him off. Standing at my front door, I thought back on everything. I let out a heavy sigh. And opened the door. My mom was sitting on the sofa like a judge from the underworld. I stood while she sat. A silent standoff. A mother-daughter relationship should be the most harmonious and intimate of bonds. But for my mom and me, that was the greatest luxury. Did you deliberately call someone to ruin the blind date? I couldn't help but ask her. If this marriage alliance is so great, why not let his illegitimate daughter do it? My mom stammered, unable to come up with a real answer. An alliance like this would never involve a child born to some woman of ill repute. I sneered. So I'm supposed to be the sacrificial lamb for your marriage? Taking the opportunity, I finally asked the question that had haunted me for years. Mom, compared to Dad, am I disposable? She didn't speak, didn't even look at me. After a long silence, I suddenly laughed. And as I laughed, tears started to fall. I wiped them away furiously. I have a boyfriend now, so you can give up on the whole marriage alliance idea. My mom shot to her feet. What's his family's situation? I don't have many requirements, as long as they have overseas connections, or can help your dad's company. I cut her off. Forget it. He comes from a very ordinary family. What did you say? I deliberately raised my voice, speaking word by word. I said, his family can't help with anything. The word was followed by the sharp crack of a slap. My mom hadn't held back. A burning pain instantly flared across my face. Her voice was shrill. If he can't help, why are you with him? Your father said that if you agree to the marriage, he'll come home. I retorted sarcastically, and what does that have to do with me? She froze. What? If he doesn't come home, what does that have to do with me? I repeated maliciously. I don't care if he drops dead outside. He's a piece of trash who cheated while his wife was pregnant. Are you really that desperate to pick him back up? My mom rushed forward, trying to hit me again. I caught her hand and threw it off. If you've got the guts, go take your crazy out on your husband and his mistress. Her voice was piercing. How did I give birth to such a useless daughter? And you're not useless? Your husband is cheating, he has enough kids out there to make a mahjong table, and you're still here fantasizing that he'll come back to the family. What century are you living in, still believing that a prodigal son will return? I'm starting to think that when Grandma gave birth to you, all the amniotic fluid went straight to your brain, which is why you're still not thinking clearly. I advanced on her, throwing her own words back in her face. How did I end up with such a pathetic and useless mom? Her face turned pale, and she sank back onto the sofa, drained of all strength. I rarely stayed at home. When my dad was there, my mom would lose it. When my dad wasn't there, my mom would still lose it. I tried to pull her out of it. But all she wanted to do was drag me down with her. It was exhausting. So I just bought my own apartment. That evening, I was rolling a cold egg over the swollen part of my face. Chloe video called me. This time, her voice was pure misery. My uncle has me under house arrest. And he canceled all my cards. Chloe wailed. Ah. Before I could even respond, she was suddenly staring at my face. Who hit you? She paused for a few seconds. Your mom or your dad? My hand, rolling the egg, froze. My mom. Did she pressure you about the marriage alliance again? Chloe's concern was practically overflowing from the screen. See? Some family ties aren't worth a damn compared to friendship. I forced down the lump in my throat and tried to sound casual. I'm planning on marrying someone, just to throw the certificate in her face. Chloe didn't say anything, just looked at me. Her sympathy was obvious. Okay. Pretending to be strong wasn't fun. I admitted it. I wasn't over it at all. I lowered my head. 2 large tears fell, soaking into the duvet and quickly disappearing. When I looked up again, I had pulled myself together. Chloe was uncharacteristically serious. Mia, have you ever thought about taking over your dad's company? I looked at her for a few moments. She wasn't kidding. I've thought about it, but I don't think it's enough. Instead of taking it, I'd rather destroy it. As long as that company exists. My dad will never give up. He'll keep pushing my mom to pressure me. Besides, I'm not interested in his company. I have my own career. He is the source of all this tragedy. He has wronged everyone. I want him to watch his life's work burn to the ground with his own eyes. What's your plan? There's a perfect opportunity right now. My dad's company can only afford to take on projects that are guaranteed to be profitable. His cash flow can't handle any risks. If it breaks, he'll go bankrupt quickly. Chloe immediately got what I was saying. So, we need to create the illusion that this project is a 100% sure thing. We'll use his desperation to make a comeback to lure him into investing. Exactly, I said, looking at her. Chloe, you're the only one who can help me. You mean my uncle? I nodded. I need my dad to know that the Chin family is also interested in investing in this project. She patted her chest. Leave it to me. Chloe had just been disciplined by her uncle, and now she was about to walk right back into the lion's den. She peeked around the doorframe, cautiously sticking her head out. The moment she did, she was spotted. It was like Ethan had a built-in radar. Your time isn't up. Normally, the second Ethan spoke, she would have pulled her head right back in. Even though Ethan was only 3 years older than her. She had an inexplicable sense of awe and fear around him. She gathered her courage and spoke. Uncle, can I ask you for a favor? Let's hear it. Chloe scurried over and started giving him a sycophantic shoulder massage. Uncle, are you free next week? Ethan glanced at his schedule. I have a business trip. He paused. Planning to borrow my car again? Chloe massaged his shoulders even more enthusiastically. I was hoping you could help me with something next week. Not free. You don't even know what it is, and you're already saying no. Ethan turned to look at her. Besides eating, drinking, and partying, what other major crises do you have? It's not for me. Before Chloe could finish, Ethan cut her off. If it's not for you, I'm even less free. Seeing that he was completely immovable, Chloe turned to leave in a huff. Fine. I'll find someone else to help Mia. Hearing that name, Ethan's head shot up. Who did you say you were helping? My best friend. If I don't help her, her mom is going to force her into an arranged marriage. Ethan frowned. Lead with the important part next time. With that, Ethan grabbed his car keys and walked out. Where are you going? The only answer she got was the sound of his hurried footsteps. I poured myself a glass of wine. Then I sent a text to Ethan. Where are you? He replied instantly. Downstairs. Me, how much do you make as a security guard? I'll double it. Come up here now. A moment later, he sent a photo. It was a picture of the tallow tree right below my apartment building. I stared at the message for a few minutes, stunned. Can you teleport? Ethan didn't reply. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and sure enough, there he was. I led him inside. Then I tilted my head and studied him for a moment. And suddenly said, "Marry me." He stopped in his tracks. Then he took 2 steps closer. You want to get married? I swirled my wine. After a few seconds, I downed it in one go. I looked at him through the empty glass. This man was unfairly handsome. Nice to have around the house. A feast for the eyes. I don't want to, but I have to. He looked me in the eye and said seriously, it doesn't sound like you're very enthusiastic about it. He took the wine glass from my hand and set it aside. No one is worth you using your marriage as a weapon of defiance. I didn't say anything. But my eyes were uncontrollably drawn to him. A simple white shirt, 2 buttons undone, revealing a hint of his collarbone. The shirt was stretched taut over his muscles. He radiated sex appeal. I wanted to mess with him. And what I think, I do. I grabbed his collar and backed him up toward the sofa. And gave him a shove. He was sitting, I was standing. Looking down on him. I stepped onto his thigh with my high-heeled shoe and slowly moved upward. The corners of his eyes turned red. Are you drunk? I wiggled a finger in front of his face. I'm not drunk. But you like this just make me want to bully you. He grabbed my hand and lightly bit my fingertip. Then don't hold back. A single lamp was on in the room, casting a dim, yellow glow on the white walls. It faintly illuminated 2 overlapping shadows. In the dim light, I could just make out Ethan's face. Below, His Adam's apple bobbed almost imperceptibly above, his dark eyes smoldered with desire. Ethan was on top of me, sweat from his temples tracing a line down his sharp jawline, dripping from his chin onto my collarbone. Turn off the lights. He suddenly broke into a grin. It seems like you're even more nervous with the lights on. His words felt like a challenge. Why would I be nervous? His smile deepened. Really? If you're not nervous, why are you biting me? I'm not bit. Halfway through my sentence, I suddenly realized what he was talking about. You. My face flushed, and I couldn't even form a proper sentence. And of course, he leaned closer, whispering in my ear with a wicked smile, "What about me? You devil." I quickly covered my face. He suddenly reached out and turned off the light. And smoothly took my hands. The next second, his kiss landed precisely on my lips. A barrage of tiny kisses set my whole body on fire. After that, my consciousness began to fade. All I remember is the scorching heat of his breath. It turns out that complete exhaustion is the fastest way to fall asleep. As I slept, I had a dream. In the dream, my mom was forcing me to marry a 70-year-old man. The dream version of me was like a puppet, while my consciousness floated outside my body. I shouted, but no sound came out. I frantically ran to my dream self, trying to stop it all. It was no use. The contract was already signed. I watched as everyone but me smiled. I screamed. Suddenly, someone pulled me into an embrace. And whispered gently, "It's not real. Don't be afraid." I quieted down as a hand gently patted my back. The fear gradually receded, and the people in the dream faded away. I fell back into a deep sleep. The next day at noon, I opened my eyes, tried to lift my head an inch, and immediately fell back down. I couldn't get up. I really couldn't get up. My whole body ached. Hearing the rustling, Ethan came over. He watched me struggle for a moment. And finally couldn't hold back a laugh. I shot him a glare. "You want me to dock your pay?" He suddenly bent down and swept me up into his arms. I instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck. He leaned down and planted a kiss on the corner of my mouth. "Good morning, princess." He carried me to the bathroom to get ready, then carried me to the table to eat. He took care of every little thing. After we ate, Ethan took out his ID and family registry book. "Let's go get married." Huh? I was a little slow to react, and Ethan gave me a wounded look. "Were you just messing with me when you talked about marriage yesterday?" I knew it. It was just a trick to get into my pants. I looked at him in disbelief. Then he suddenly smiled. "Okay, I'm just teasing you." Like a magician, he produced a ring. And knelt on one knee before me. "I know this is a bit sudden, but I still want to ask you, Princess Mia, will you marry me?" Looking at the massive diamond, my first reaction was to ask him, "Where did you buy such a realistic-looking fake diamond?" He was silent for a long moment. Then said with a hint of helplessness, "It's real." "No way," I retorted automatically. Ethan didn't argue. He took my hand and slipped the ring on. It fit perfectly. I held out my hand, admiring it from every angle. The cut was so perfect, it really didn't look fake. But there was no way he could afford a real one. A diamond of this color and carat would cost millions. Case closed. "It's a fake." Ethan watched my expression change and couldn't help but laugh, but he added one more time, "It's really real." Okay, it's really real. If he says so, then it is. It doesn't matter. Ethan had been kneeling this whole time. I quickly helped him up. "I forgot to tell you yesterday, I wanted to have a fake marriage with you." Ethan's expression cracked for a second. "A fake marriage?" "Yes, a fake marriage, but with a real marriage certificate. After this is all over, we can get a divorce." I watched his expression and added, I know this isn't fair to you, turning a handsome guy like you into a divorce. I held up 3 fingers. But don't worry, I'll give you a generous compensation. Chloe told me his family wasn't well off, but at least his background was clean, with no messy connections. I continued to tempt him. This money will be enough for you to retire comfortably. Ethan and I got our marriage license. The moment I got the certificate, I took a picture and sent it to my mom. Unsurprisingly, she bombarded me with voice messages, each one over 60 seconds long. I blocked her. Hee hee. In a great mood, I swung Ethan's hand. Let's go home. When we got back, as soon as we walked through the door, Ethan lifted me up by my legs. I let out a gasp and instinctively threw my arms around his neck. He bounced me a couple of times and walked to the living room, sitting down on the sofa. I was sitting on Ethan's lap. Suddenly, I felt a very close, invasive presence. I wanted to get down, but he held my waist firmly and kissed me without another word. I tried to pull away, but he held the back of my head. His other hand held my waist, pressing me tightly against him. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from behind us. I flinched in surprise. Ethan took the opportunity to pull me into his arms. His sharp gaze shot toward the source of the sound. Chloe stood frozen, rubbed her eyes, and then let out a piercing scream. Babe! Why are you on top of my uncle? Who? I looked up in terror, meeting Chloe's equally terrified gaze. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Chloe immediately covered her eyes and spun around. I didn't see anything. I spent a long time in my room with Chloe, trying to piece everything together, and finally came to the devastating conclusion. I got the wrong guy. Is your uncle crazy? If he knew I made a mistake, why didn't he say anything? Chloe didn't dare to speak too loudly, only whispering in agreement. Yeah, why didn't he say anything? It's too late. What's too late? I pulled out our marriage certificate, utterly defeated. I already married him. Chloe let out a curse. Her eyes were sparkling as she looked at me. You work in silence, but you pull off the biggest moves, huh? Her tone shifted. My uncle definitely likes you. This is perfect. Your dad's situation? Leave it to my uncle. I might complain about him all the time, but my uncle is super protective of his own. If your dad falls into his hands. She didn't finish, but I understood what she meant. When Chloe and I came out of the room, Ethan was on the phone. He saw me, said a few more words to the person on the other end, and hung up. Chloe gave me a little push from behind. I walked toward Ethan and stopped about 2 feet away from him. He looked at me for a moment, then closed the distance between us. Our shoes touched. Before I could speak, he spoke first. Your dad is bankrupt. I froze. He took my hand and kissed my wide-open eyes. Just now. Before I could say anything, Chloe was practically jumping for joy. Uncle, you're the coolest. He pulled me into his arms and shot Chloe a warning look. Chloe muttered as she walked away. Now that you've stolen my best friend, I'm just in the way, right? Fine, I'm leaving. Ethan lifted me onto the kitchen island. He stood in front of me, still taller. I looked up at him. Tears started falling without any warning. Thank you, Ethan. He gently pulled me into his arms. Just this once, I'll let you cry your heart out. After this, don't ever shed another tear for them. I buried my face in his chest and sobbed uncontrollably. As I cried, a thought suddenly struck me. You tricked me into marriage. Ethan didn't know whether to laugh or be angry. Is the topic really changing that fast? I sniffled. I got the wrong person back then. You knew it the whole time. He looked at me and couldn't help but smile. That made me even angrier. I started hitting him with my fists. You're still smiling? You think it's funny watching me act like an idiot? I even lied and said that car was mine, when it was obviously your car. And you lied about being a security guard, when that was obviously your home. He tilted his head, listening to my accusations, then suddenly cupped my face. You're so cute. I have to kiss you. I struggled to push him away. You're a manipulative schemer. He admitted it. I am a manipulative schemer. You're full of tricks. He admitted it again. I am full of tricks. And I also fell for you at first sight, planned every step, and now I'm hopelessly hooked. He wrapped his hands around my fists, gently rubbing the red marks. Do you know how happy I was when you ran up and grabbed me? My heart was about to pound out of my chest. He tilted my chin up. As our lips met, I thought I could hear thunderous applause. It was my own heartbeat, cheering for his confession. Later on, after my dad went bankrupt, his mistress took all his money and ran. The funniest part was, none of his illegitimate children were actually his. A trip to the hospital revealed he had a condition that made him nearly sterile. Unfortunately, only I was the heir to his defective genes. My dad couldn't handle the blow and had a mental breakdown. My mom suddenly saw the light and divorced him, then had him committed to a psychiatric hospital. But who cares? Certainly not the married Mia. Bonus chapter: Ethan's POV. My older brother and sister-in-law were always dumping Chloe on me to sneak off for their own date nights. But Chloe was too loud. She kind of annoyed me. Fortunately, she was also afraid of me. When I was home, she'd hide in her room. But one time, she was in the living room, laughing so hard she didn't notice I'd come downstairs. I was curious. Who on the other end of the phone could make her laugh so freely? And that's when I saw Mia. A girl with a dimple when she smiled. I accidentally found out Mia was going on a blind date. And then I accidentally found out Chloe was going to hire a fake boyfriend for her. I grabbed my car keys and left. And waited outside the coffee shop. I asked every guy who showed up if he was there to be a fake boyfriend. They all thought I was crazy. Finally, I found him. I gave him double the money and told him to act as if he'd shown up, and to say so if anyone asked. He agreed immediately. I pulled open the door and walked inside. Mia's eyes lit up as she ran toward me. She asked me if Chloe had sent me. Should I have denied it? I didn't want to. You know how it is. First and foremost, I'm a businessman. And second, I have no shame. So, please allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ethan Chen, and I am Mia's husband.